I never once chose to listen to Total Eclipse of the Heart. Not once. Never bought it, never streamed it, never added it to a playlist, and yet I know every single word. This week, we heard the sad news that Bonnie Tyler had died, the voice behind the ultimate power ballad, a song so thoroughly woven into the sonic fabric of our culture that it got into my head and yours without permission. Radio did it, weddings did it, movies did it, shopping centres did it. And her passing gave us pause for thought, because Total Eclipse is 7 minutes of unashamed, hard on the sleeve, zero irony, emotional maximalism, and that's not a thing anymore. The lyrics aren't a thing anymore. The power ballad isn't a thing anymore. So this week, we're looking back at the song itself, at Bonnie, and the bigger question, what killed the power ballad? And are songs like this the last remnant of something we might never get again? Music that's universally known and loved across generations, bigger than the artist who sang it. Because today we're all siloed in our own algorithms, and I'm a 43-year-old man and I could not name 3 Taylor Swift songs. But I can't explore an emotion-drenched power ballad episode alone. I'm gonna need a man who every now and then gets a little bit tired of listening to the sound of his tears. John! I need you now, tonight. I fucking need you more than ever. That was from Old School. Do you remember that? Do you remember in Old School how that that band performs Total Eclipse in the of the Heart, and then just hilariously they just start dropping profanities?
F-bombs.
So good.
Yeah, and I've done that very thing, of course, as so many people have at karaoke when I've done Total Eclipse of the Heart. Total fucking eclipse of the heart.
I fucking need you more now.
Just works so well. Yeah, great. I mean, it's a sad catalyst for this week's episode, but, we have obviously about 2 years in advance a very tightly scheduled episode roster organised with Colin, our producer, and others. But when Bonnie passed away, we both threw that in the bin and said, we got to focus on this. And it's not the first time we've mentioned Total Eclipse on the show.
Yeah.
And there are actually some kind of familiar themes that come out of the story, one of which is the man behind Total Eclipse, Jim Steinman, who we talked about in the context of Meatloaf's equally illustrious career, because Jim Steinman was the kind of force behind Bad Out of Hell, wrote a lot of those, I think wrote the whole thing, and wrote Total Eclipse of the Heart, which in classic Jim Steinman fashion, for those who don't know, he's very much into that kind of what he calls a kind of Wagnerian sort of, melodrama style, rock opera style power ballad. And so this song, Total Eclipse of the Heart, one of the things that I loved, I don't think I knew that it was a Jim Steinman song, although that instantly made sense, but that it was originally written to be part of a Nosferatu vampire musical, which I loved. And it's so sad that we now will never get the chance to see Bonnie reprise her role and perhaps take part in the Nosferatu musical. But maybe somebody will one day if it ever gets made. Fascinating trajectory that the song has had, which in some ways it's like the Forrest Gump of songs. It's been adjacent to a lot of big things, not just solar eclipses, which it's often played at, but also obviously the kind of power ballad, Rise and Fall, and then the kind of adaptation of power ballads into techno in the 90s, into dance music. It's experienced all of that, and it's been a kind of intergenerational hit, as you mentioned. Yeah, which every few years finds a new audience.
One of the few intergenerational. Well, it seems like these intergenerational hits are becoming fewer and further between. It's I don't know. Like it's funny to think about. I wonder. This would take a little bit of thinking, but I wonder some of the more recently released songs that everybody knows. I feel like kind of Bruno Mars has a couple of these kind of songs. I mean, I'm not saying Bruno Mars is like Total Eclipse of the Heart, but there's a couple of those artists that like old people love as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I reckon.
I mean, what's kind of interesting about Total Eclipse though is like Bruno Mars, you can sort of see because it's very palatable music.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of. I think Bruno wouldn't mind me saying that there's not a lot of edge there. But Total Eclipse is a pretty weird song in some ways. It's like very over the top, very hyper emotional, and just odd. Like the themes are kind of odd and ambiguous. It's sort of treating heartbreak as though it's a kind of apocalypse. And if you watch the video clip, it sort of hammers home just how thematically scrambled it is. Like the video clip is mental. It's just all like. And in fact, there was a parody song made, I think, in about 2009 called something like Total Eclipse literal version or something, where they just kind of did lyrics around what was happening in the video clip, because it's like there's like gymnasts and ninjas and and schoolboys with glowing eyes in it. It's really strange, and it's all done in this kind of neo-Gothic. Apparently, it was an old asylum.
Okay,
but it's that kind of thing, I guess, that because it's sufficiently vague, that really what matters about it is the kind of vibe and the sort of sheer balls out earnestness of it that just kind of is great for, is great for good times where maybe you're doing karaoke.
Maybe what a karaoke! Karaoke classic.
It's a karaoke classic.
Yeah. I read also, I think it changes key in every section. So you've got the turn around, and then listening to the sound of my tear, and then it changes again in that kind of pre-chorus. Right. Turn around, bright eyes, and then I think it changes again for the chorus. And so it's keeping you moving the whole time. It's forcing you forward in states of emotion until you reach the absolute classic powered ballad apex, where she starts hammering out,
bringing in different instrument, bringing in the drums and bringing in a bit more musical complexity with each round. So it's like a huge build up, and then just kind of a brief bridge, which has I think pipe organs in it. The bridge. Probably a bit of a nod to the fact that it was meant to be a vampire musical.
And it has the sound of bats flapping in it that they forgot to take off as well.
Exactly. Yo! Just like, what is this?
Every now and then I fall apart.
But it's kind of it's structurally quite unusual and quite challenging in a way. I mean, and one of the interesting things I was listening to it today, and I think Bonnie, this is something that I must admit, ChatGPT gave me about 50 facts about the song. I managed to fact check most of them.
Yeah.
I haven't fact checked this one, so forgive me if it's incorrect, but it makes sense that she had some sort of vocal surgery. Yeah. And what's interesting about it is, she definitely has like a husky voice. And in fact, there's a male singer on the track who's often uncredited. What's his name again? I'm just gonna continue that. Uncredited, Total Eclipse, uncredited singer.
I didn't know. I'm trying to remember. I didn't know there's a band singing on it.
Yeah, so there's a guy named Rory Dodd, a Canadian vocalist. Who kind of does the, because parts of it in typical sort of Jim Steinman fashion, because it's like very much like something that could have been lifted out of a melodramatic musical or something. Yeah. So the early lyrics, at least in the original version or the long version, are a kind of exchange or a dialogue between Bonnie and this guy Rory Dodd, who has a very sort of a very high register, kind of quite melodic voice. So it's interesting that the male parts are the sort of high parts and the husky parts are Bonnie's parts. And that obviously that kind of slightly breaking voice, that slight huskiness, that like graveliness, which reminded Jim Steinman of John Fogerty, which is one of the things that appealed to her about him. Gives it this real emotional edge. Like it means that you feel like you're listening to someone who's going through a bit of stuff, which adds to the whole thing.
I have a few. I was just going to say, John, I have a few foundational facts here for everybody as well. If anybody wants a little bit more background. So Total Eclipse of the Heart comes out in 1983, the lead single from Faster Than the Speed of Night, and it sold over 13 million copies worldwide. And as you mentioned, it is from our number one songwriter, Jim Steinman. Have you seen Jim Steinman's Wikipedia? Have you seen the photograph of him on Wikipedia? It is absolutely tremendous. I won't be able to
really?
Yeah, just look up Jim Steinman's like Wikipedia.
Jesus Christ. That's exactly as I hoped he would look. Wow.
Describe that for our listeners, John.
Yeah, so if you just do it, I've just Google image search Jim Steinman, and he looks like if you got ChatGPT to do, to imagine what Jim Steinman would look like, frankly, someone who's a kind of popular melodramatic rock opera auteur. He's got in one photo, for example, he's got dark shades on. He's got long swept back hair. He's got a leather jacket with kind of ornate jewels and studs all over it. And then there's some great ones where he's sitting next to his mate Meatloaf, of course, who is there's somewhere he's got like strange kind of steampunky glasses on, which I love.
Look at the actual Wikipedia photograph from his Wikipedia. Okay. That's because I just love that whoever's chosen it is just like, this is the best representation of Jim Steinman.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one I was drawn to in the image search. He's doing like a kind of, he's got black leather gloves on, a black leather jacket with a collar.
And he's like 55 maybe?
Yeah, the collar's got metal studs. He's got dark sunglasses. But yeah, he's also, he's not young in that photo. This was circa 1989. So he would have been about my age there, which is inspiring.
So Jim Steinman, he wrote Bat Out of Hell, which is like one of the biggest selling, again, weird. Like it's one of the biggest selling albums of all time is Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. It sold 43 million copies and contains the songs Paradise by the Dashboard Light, You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, and Bat Out of Hell. Jim Steinman is an absolute killer. He's also written Meatloaf's I Would Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that. Also wrote It's All Coming, I think it must have arranged Celine Dion's It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
Yeah.
And of course he wrote Bonnie Tyler's other huge hit, Holding Out for a Hero.
From Footloose, right?
Correct, yeah. We could do a whole Meatloaf episode.
And he passed away a few years ago, 2021. And I think the only other time we talked about him on the show was because I had gone to see, because it was the kind of thing where like my employer or an employer asked me, he sent out a general email. Someone's got tickets to a Meatloaf musical and they can't go. And I was like, fuck yeah, we'll do that. And then, and it was all this kind of, it was actually a Jim Steinman thing. So it was like, mostly Meatloaf songs and then a few that kind of didn't make it, but it was very much like it was like a genuine rock opera. It was like a story that was a sort of weird reimagining of West Side Story, but in typical Jim Steinman fashion, there was like lasers and monsters and shit. He was very much a kind of, one of the articles I was reading described him as very much a more is more style. It's like a maximalist in every sense, which again, isn't just, that kind of earnestness, you've got to really sell it, obviously, which Meatloaf did, and which Bonnie Tyler did. Like again, if you watch that clip of her doing Total Eclipse of the Heart, it's so ridiculous in some ways, that clip. And the song is kind of ridiculous, so overwrought. But, I found myself kind of getting carried away with it because she's like really committing to it. And apparently they did like 9 takes or something, that in one day and pick the best one. But that kind of, when someone really commits to a level of earnestness that you can't help but be drawn into it. That's kind of Jim Steinman's whole life, I feel. That's what he represented.
That's what his family would say about him.
Yeah.
John, also I thought it'd be fun to play. I think I can do this here on Riverside. You mentioned Total Eclipse of the Heart about a year ago on the show when because we did an episode where you and me had discovered that Spotify have these generated playlists for you that are called guilty pleasures, and we thought it would be fun to go through your guilty pleasure top 10 and my guilty pleasure top 10. And you said you were doing a countdown of yours, and you said this. That's my next one. What did you have, John, as your next guilty pleasure?
Number 3, coming in hot, is Bonnie Tyler with Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh, wow. Do you listen to these quite a lot?
No,
Is that why?
I don't. I don't know why. I actually don't. I mean, to be honest with you.
That was you saying that it had come up as number 3 on your...
And I think I went on to say I didn't really like Total Eclipse of the Heart, which was true until I did the research for this episode, and then I was like, maybe I've just reached the age. Just like Jim Steinman, who was around my age in that photo, I'm ready to commit to it now, because I was listening to it today. Maybe it was the combination of the video clip, and I was like, I'm kind of feeling this.
Yeah.
Next time it comes on at karaoke, I won't roll my eyes. I'll run up on stage and do it.
Yeah. And get a little bit terrified. So what's a power ballad, John? This is quite cool. Ballad originally meant a narrative folk song that tells a story, but then in pop it drifted to mean any slow, emotional song, and the power ballad is the 70s, 80s mutation, a slow, emotional song, usually in a rock style or a soft rock style, built on a quiet start and then usually a huge dynamic build and a climax designed to be screamed at. And Total Eclipse, it ticks every box in the power ballad. Some others that came up, John, I Googled best power ballads of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And I just pulled a few of my favorites. I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner.
It's a beauty.
What a beautiful song. November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
Man.
Yeah.
I feel like
nothing lasts forever.
All my favorite songs turn out to be power ballads.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And I read also that it was a thing that record companies would do in the 80s with hair metal bands, is they would say, you can't just like rock out for the whole album. You have to do one power ballad because that will be the radio hit. And then we'll get way more audience than just metal boys. And so loads of metal bands have like a handful of power ballads that are their biggest songs for this for this very reason, because I'm thinking of Scorpions too. Like Scorpions have like loads of power ballads that are great. And another one of my favorites, John, and your favorites. Oh, what a song this is! "Keep on Loving You" by REO Speedwagon.
Keep on loving. Hang on, I'm out of key. I've been sick this week, as you can probably hear. Yeah. And the one thing that kept me going was that if I went south, then I'd be doing duets with Bonnie in heaven.
The other thing is you've developed a Bonnie rasp as a homage for this episode. You've gone and had vocal nodule surgery and then not rested afterwards. Just to get that Bonnie rasp.
That's the same thing that Miles Davis did, I think. And then he had a terrible rasp his whole life, but it added to his mystique. So next time you have nodules removed, I'm not saying do that, but just give, like, there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
If Miles Davis was just like, "Oh, hello everyone," nobody would want to listen to that.
Hi everybody, I'm going to play some trumpet for you today. Hey everybody, you like the trumpet?
Is it just like Milk Toast Miles? That was his first album.
A 1, 2, 3, 4.
She was Bonnie Tyler was Welsh, which I didn't know. I didn't know anything about her until she died, and
Nor
it
did
just
I.
endeared her even more to me because there's just something about somebody being Welsh that makes me think they're probably going to be down to earth instead of like if they were American. If Bonnie Tyler was American, she will have just been in some weird circle her whole life because she would have done that song. And then she would just be doing like Vegas, and she would just be doing weird things. And then I saw her interview in the last couple. Yeah, exactly. And then I watched a couple of interviews with her, and of course she's just like totally cool and Welsh, and just like Catherine Zeta-Jones and Tom Jones.
That's right. Well, I mean, the Welsh are obviously they're a kind of famously musical, particularly famously vocal culture, and they really punch above their weight in terms of great singers. So that was a nice thing to learn. But I mean, think about the fact that like she did have, that she did have Footloose and a couple of other things, but never got to that same level as she did with Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah.
Which was recorded in 1982, the same year that I was born. So
that's interesting.
Much like me, she had 43 years of not achieving very much.
If you had asked me, I would have guessed it was from the 70s. I mean, it sounds dated for 1982, 83. Like it sounds like 70s Meatloaf.
Yeah, that's true. I think even then it must have been a bit of a blowback, right? I mean, because it's got none of it's not like they're, trying to bring in synth. I mean, they're just like, no, we'll just stick to organ.
And no drum machines, I don't think. Also,
which
is the other reason why it sounds dated and why you don't think of it as being an 80s song is because normally the charts would have been filled with like drum machiney, synthy songs, and it's none of that. It's all orchestral arrangements and stuff.
Yeah. And it spent a huge amount of time number one in the US, having done really well, of course, in Bonnie's native UK, and did very well around the world. But as you say, 13 million copies sold. It's been kind of since then. It's been ranked, in various like what's your favorite, what's the best Welsh song from the 80s, and even slightly more widely cast surveys as well. It always does very well. And one of the people that I've been thinking about, in contrast to, I don't want to, if you're still doing a fact wrap up, we can go back to that. But I was just thinking, one of the other musicians who's been in the press the last couple of weeks is Lizzo, who didn't even manage to sell 2,500 copies of her latest album.
Yeah, that's a whole episode in itself.
Yeah, but I thought, well, that's a sign of the times, isn't it? Because everyone knows who Lizzo is. Yeah, it doesn't help. Yeah. Nobody really. I didn't know anything much at all about Bonnie Tyler, but Jesus, I love that song. And didn't matter to me who Bonnie Tyler was. Yeah, I didn't want to know.
Instead of having Lizzo shoved down your throat every day,
exactly.
I don't care about this person. I first heard Total Eclipse so it comes out in 1980. It's recorded at 82, comes out 83, and then I guess it was huge in the 80s, and then it obviously had its time and then disappeared as songs need to go away for a while before they reappear. And then I first encountered the song in 1995 because there was a version in the charts by this woman called Nikki French. It was a high NRG style eurodance cover. And that's the first time I heard the song, and I just thought it was an original. It was just everywhere in 1995. And I found out it's produced by Mike Stock and Matt Aiken, who Stock, Aiken and Waterman, who did all the Kylie Minogue. They're basically Never Gonna Give You Up, Rick Astley. That's all Stock, Aikman and Waterman. They created this sound in the 1980s and they just pumped it out. My favorite Jason Donovan song, which I think Jason Donovan has like one song, Too Many Broken Hearts, absolute banger, Stock, Aikman and Waterman. So I heard that in 95 and I just thought, oh, this is a cool Eurodance song. And then years later, I heard the original and realized, oh, it was a Eurodance cover. But I remember in 1995, you'd catch me singing Gangsta's Paradise 1 minute, and the next would be a Eurodance version, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah, I think that is the first version I heard as well. And there's unsurprisingly, there's a big part of the Wikipedia article on Total Eclipse is just about that, because it did so extremely well in its own right. And I guess I don't know how these things work, but I guess like Nikki was just touring the song, which would have been slightly weird or touring and playing that track, which would have been slightly weird for Bonnie. Maybe they teamed up.
I think Bonnie would have been loving it because that's all royalties.
She would have been.
That's another story on a Portuguese mansion.
Yeah, that's true too.
She said, I can finally move Tom in upstairs. I've got Catherine Zeta in the downstairs room. Yeah. And now I can put Tom on the top floor in the Welsh house.
He was upstairs recording Sex Bomb around that time. Sex Bomb, Sex Bomb.
Who's that at the door? It's Moose T. Come around to help Tom make Sex Bomb. What an afternoon at Bonnie's Portuguese Welsh creative house.
Yeah. They probably had like a content house in Cardiff or something.
That's great. The Welsh content house, and it's just Bonnie Tyler, Tom Jones, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Michael Douglas having to go and get croissants in the morning and bring them to everyone. Exactly.
Bring them back. He's going, come on. What about we make what was it? Entrapment 2. Then you've got a whole bunch of other cover versions. Many of the artists I'm unfamiliar with, but do you know who Jan Wayne is? He's a German electronic dance producer. So some of our German listeners, if you know, hello@dptm.org, let us know. That was 2001. Then you've got a Mexican singer named Eurydia covered the song. Then you've got Westlife, of course, everybody's favorite Irish boy band. In 2006, they do a cover version. David Guetta has done a version of the song as well. The wet Guet. So you can go and listen to him. Just ad-lib a bit of French nonsense over the top of Total Eclipse if you want to. Glee has done a version of the song, of course, in an episode. And as I mentioned, there have been others too, but I won't name them all. But and then there've been kind of parodies as well, which is a sure sign that you're in the zeitgeist.
It's it's the thing. The culture has shifted so much since the sincerity of the power ballad that now Total Eclipse of the Heart is basically used as a kind of. It's almost used as in an ironic way to show a kind of sincerity that's like kind of cringe. So ads will use it. But nobody's watching it like actually crying anymore. In the 1980s, I'm sure they were. And I guess some people who really love the song and just take it for what it is. But we hit the 90s and everything started getting really sarcastic. And so then the reason you throw it on an ad or something like that is I actually think this may change now that she's died and people are looking at it again, but it is kind of like, this is the cheesiest, cringiest kind of hard on your sleeve thing, and it's a big power ballad. That's what it communicates. If you were a music supervisor for a film or a television commercial, that's the conversation that's happening. You're 100%. saying you're saying, let's put Total Eclipse of the Heart in the TV commercial, and we'll really ham up the like cringe angle of what we're trying to do here. Or we'll make the dad the idiot, and the dad does something stupid and trips over and lands on his face, and then he starts singing Total Eclipse of the Heart, and the wife and kids laugh at him. That's idiot. Every ad on TV.
Yeah. And he says, Sorry for being the fucking breadwinner my whole life.
Sorry for just trying to love this family. Why are you such a stupid man? Why can't you get the Amy insurance? Why the hell? Lucky I bought Amy insurance, you idiot. You burn the fucking house down.
It's true though. I mean, if somebody if you go to karaoke, I mean, the reason you're doing it at karaoke is because, people don't like it when I get serious at karaoke, and I've learned many times, and you wouldn't do that with Total Eclipse. Like if you were watching someone sing it and someone next to you kind of started getting a bit teary, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like this is like a comedy song, but it's not, of course, as you say, like there were people in the 80s who would have been like, yeah, I love this because it makes me think about heartbreak and it's, it's moving.
And if you only hold me tight,
maybe that, they recognized that it was over the top or whatever, but they went with it. And then everything got Seinfeldized and we couldn't be serious about anything anymore.
Authenticity out the window. We couldn't be vulnerable anymore. Yeah. So, John, why did the power ballad go extinct? What happened to REO Speedwagon's Keep On Loving You? What happened to Total Eclipse of the Heart? What happened to Foreigners? I want to know what love is. Well, a lot of people say the power ballad went extinct because Sincerity did this very thing that we're talking about, this kind of heart on sleeve, let me just talk about heartbreak. That's not really like Drake's not singing Total Eclipse of the Heart. He's singing God's Plan or Hotline Bling. When I think about more sincere, I mean, I really crave a lot of that more sincere kind of music, and when I do hear it, it does give me a real smack in the face. And what I straight away I did actually think of Bruno Mars has a song called, I think it's called If I Was Your Man, which I actually really love. And Casey Musgraves I love. And Casey Musgraves has some of these songs like Rainbow. I absolutely love. That gets me very emotional. That is a beautiful song.
And yeah, you're right. It is also kind of quite earnest.
Yeah.
And not it's not like it's not telling you as an audience member that you're cool because you're listening to it or that you're smart because you're listening to it. It's just about having feelings. And it's true. We need more of that. But I mean, people are talking about that as kind of as a new development, maybe even slightly now passé development, but the embrace of cringe and the kind of neo embrace of authenticity and earnestness. And, maybe some of the maybe Eurovision is a kind of, because there's something kind of quite Eurovision-y about Jim Steinman's vibe. And
totally.
People are kind of starting to embrace Eurovision as a kind of more heartfelt way than they previously did. And I'm always the first to criticize that, but maybe I'm wrong, and I should be fanning those flames because it's bringing people back to a more innocent engagement with feelings.
It's also one of those last songs that everybody knows, because everything there's so many channels and everybody's in their own algorithm these days. And I'm just struggling to think of that many songs that you hear today. I guess, all the Michael Jackson oeuvre that's sort of in the public consciousness. But I think we are just, people say this about everything, about TV shows, in particular TV shows, everybody, there's so many streaming services pumping out so many different series. And somebody at a dinner party will just say, are you watching Eggs? You go like, what? Yeah, Eggs is like such a good show. Everybody's in it. Yeah. It's absolute, like, what is that on? Oh, HBO Max. It's Eggs. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then somebody else will say, are you watching Bricks? I'm watching Bricks. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I just got started. I just got started on Eggs. Now I'm gonna watch Bricks. I'm just on episode 2 of Eggs. Starring Ron Howard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I mean, what are people going to be singing in 30 years' time at karaoke? They'll be like, oh, this is my, this is actually an AI generated song that I had written specifically for me because of something I was going through. the algorithm gave this to me. So there's some references which you won't get because they're specifically about my ex-girlfriend. But just enjoy the song.
And another thing I had here, which was quite interesting, is that the ballad collapsed because the social infrastructure around it collapsed. Ballads had jobs: the school disco, slow dance, the late night radio dedication, the wedding first dance, the lighter held aloft. We don't hold lighters aloft anymore. We're all just holding up our phones to the stage.
Sure.
So this job of it being the slow dance song or the late night radio dedication, of course you're not hearing at weddings because nobody's getting married anymore. Nobody's getting married. Nobody's having kids. That's why there is no more power ballads.
Nobody's getting married. Nobody's going to school dances. And most of all, no one is experiencing the kind of earnest love that they did. Ironically, in the 80s, which we remember as a very cynical decade, but we've eclipsed even the 80s, which is a sad tale. Maybe the 90s was to the 80s what the 80s was to the 70s was to the 60s. We've just become progressively less Jim Steinman as we've gone on. We need to turn the cultural dial back to more a rock opera sense, a more Wagnerian. Leaving aside some of the complexities around Wagner, but we need to embrace the Jim Steinman way instead of the artist's way. The Steinman way perhaps could be the next wave. What do you think? I mean, I think not so much people still have wedding songs, and I think Bruno Mars really cleans up, and we do still have solar eclipses, and apparently they they always result in a huge uptick in radio play of Total Eclipse of the Heart and Spotify downloads, which is amazing.
Is that true? Like when there's actual solar eclipses, people go, better play Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah, like when there's one, obviously, they're not always in places where, well, I don't know exactly how it works, but let's suppose they're not always visible in places where people live. But if if they're people in one of the many parts of the world that has a relationship with that song, then there'll be a surge in downloads because everyone will think they're being hilarious by playing Total Eclipse of the Heart while the eclipse is happening, which I love. Because you said to me in the lead up, why isn't it just about astronomy and just make a song called Total Eclipse of the Sun?
Yeah, and all of the verses are just about that cosmic event. It's just a very literal song about solar eclipse.
Around
I had here as well, John, that sadness didn't die; it just moved to the dance floor. So the power ballad, the emotive power ballad, now is more couched in a dance format. So thinking things like Robin's dancing on my own.
Yeah,
it's a great song.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Speaking of Guetta, he's
tend
doing
to
it now. Titanium. You don't get Total Eclipse for the Heart anymore. You get Titanium featuring Adelaide's own Sia Furler.
That's true. I mean, Sia's actually got a bit of that quality, and maybe Lord as well at times has a bit of that kind of heart on sleeve quality. But you're right that people do. Because we need to have MDMA to allow our feelings to come to the surface, and when people have had that, then they're really willing to take Total Eclipse of the Heart seriously. When David Guetta says, shout out to George Floyd's family, and puts on Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Shout out to his family. One of the greatest moments. we need to remember to be positive whenever we're singing. The world is already so difficult. This song is for George Floyd, and it's shout out to his family. Woo! Great. If you just look up, if anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, just look up David Guetta solves racism, and it's a great little. It's a very good clip of him DJing on a rooftop and playing like some god awful remix just with Martin Luther's "I Have a Dream" speech over the top of it in the wake of George Floyd's deaths. It was just tonally perfect. Thank you, David, for this. I think, John, that's a perfect note to end this episode on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, if you haven't listened to Total Eclipse of the Heart in a while, I really urge you to do that this week and think about Bonnie in that Cardiff content house ripping out versus
the Cardiff content house is so good. Pop in my favorite drum and bass artist, High Contrast, can be in there as well. Another proud Welshman. Well, John, I want to say thank you so much for this episode. Everybody, if you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to support the podcast is on the Patreon. And you get the episodes one day early, as well as a bunch of other member exclusives. John, you've sent the stickers out. Are they flying around the world as we speak?
Some of them are, they are basically, yes. Some of them have arrived with their recipients. Others are still en route. So hopefully we should start to see people's photos of stickers out in the world.
Please bomb
DPTM social media.
When you get your members, when you get your DPTM stickers, please just bomb the fuck out of your city with DPTM stickers. Maybe put one on your laptop. What we would ask you is, please don't hide those stickers away. Don't do a weird thing like just put them on a notebook that's just for you that nobody's ever going to see. Absolutely bomb the fuck out. Put them in places real obnoxious. Put them in public. Put them somewhere you might even get arrested. That's what we want. We want you to write to us and say, I got arrested for DPTM sticker, and then we'll know that the message is real getting through. I'd love to. I would love to. What a treat it would be to spot one in the wild if it's just wandering around.
Can't wait for that to happen. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.
Ponk. Ponk.